This is Mark Fidelman, and joining me is Tyler Culbertson. He is the social media guru of Guru, Tony Robbins.
Howdy, Mark. How are you?
Great to have you on the show today. And today we're just going to answer questions from our audience. These are questions that have appeared on our YouTube channel, and I'm hoping you can help me answer them. So, because some of them are pretty difficult. You know, there's some smart people that are watching our channel. So let's start, Tyler, if you're okay with this, with the first one. And that question is, how can I measure my social digital strategy in dollars, providing value and demonstrating ROI?
So I think first and foremost with demonstrating the return on investment is, what's your outcome? Do you want to be selling a product online? Do you want to be reaching a particular audience online? Do you want to be building a list with emails or gathering data about your consumers? So first and foremost, you want to know what your outcome is. I think to quantify a dollar amount, you can get very specific and create codes that are only shared across certain social networks to track, you know, if you have a special coupon code that's specific to YouTube, or if you have a certain call to action that's specific on a podcast or on Twitter, whatever it might be, where you can actually measure and track where these sales are coming from and what channel did this client come off of. I think in terms of quantifying return in terms of value, that's a more difficult one to measure, I think, but I think you would be able to see it firsthand, just diving in and actually seeing what your fans and clients are saying about your business or your current social media presence. So if you're posting a piece of content on social, is it falling on deaf ears, or is there actually a conversation being involved? And if there is a conversation, are you taking the next step in jumping in the conversation and having a dialogue with your fans as your brand? I think that adds tremendous value to your audience, and a lot of brands and public figures aren't taking advantage of right now.
Why are we even still talking about this? I mean, ROI and social media, my God, haven't we solved this? I mean, I know we have, I know a lot of people have. Why is this still an issue? This is driving me crazy.
I think it's a lot of intangibles of you're paying this younger person who's your social media guru, and that you're paying this salary, and you might not necessarily pulling response with what you're pushing out. So I think a lot of people perceive as your social media presence is this branding experience, and that you're building your brand, and it's all about building the brand. But why not pull response while you're brand building? So have a specific call to action, whether, in marketing, I think there's a billion definitions of marketing out there right now, but one of my favorites is communication that inspires action. So what's that action going to be of your fan or client? And then being able to track what action did they take? Did they follow through and convert?
Okay, and are there specific tools that you recommend people use to track ROI all the way through? How are you doing it?
So one thing I'm a big fan of is utilizing Marketo. Being able to tag specific links of what the source is of where this traffic's coming from, and what is the journey of this fan. So for instance, if my outcome was to build an email list, that I would generate a bunch of short links for each individual platform we're on. So it's YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, a podcast, and we share these particular links that are specific to each network, and then take them to a Marketo landing page and have a form for them to fill out specific that, if we're wanting to get emails, so we get a little bit of information about that client and then the email, and then off we go. And now I just got a return on my investment.
Okay. Fantastic. And the tools we use are multi-varied. I mean, anything from simply measured, if you want to look at specific actions, to tracking every single click that happens in social media through to the landing page, through to a Facebook pixel or a Google pixel, past the thank you page. So if somebody buys something and the thank you page pops up, that's a sale. So there's pretty simple ways of measuring ROI. I'm just still shocked this is a question, but I really appreciate you answering it.
You're welcome.
So now we're going to go on to question number 2. How can I design an integrated social/digital strategy and ensure every touch point plays into my brand's larger story?
I think that all stems from creating your own brand guidelines. I think if you have some specifics that keep your brand looking consistent, whether that's a particular font that's consistent throughout your entire brand or a color scheme, even guidelines based on stock photography. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of stock photography, but it's a necessary evil in our industry of this constant, you know, feeding the beast and needing content. But here's just a simple one with stock photography rule we have is we never want people looking directly into the camera in our photos. So when you have that weird white background, or one of my favorites is women smiling, eating salad. You know, who are all these women eating salad, laughing throughout the world? Shout out to David Miriam Scott on that one. But I think, you know, in your gut feeling, you'll know if it's consistent and on brand with your company. But having some broad guidelines to constantly refer back to with the font, color scheme, and kind of overall visual strategy will always make sure you're tying it back into the brand and maintaining consistency and an integrated look.
Yeah, and I would go beyond that brand playbook that most companies do have with the fonts, the look and feel, the colors and all that, into kind of storylines and into a framework and guide rails that say, you know, we won't have stock photography where people are eating salads and smiling. We have to have something that looks and acts and feels like this. And if you put that into the playbook and it's around storytelling, it's around kind of guidelines that say do this, don't do that. I know you can't anticipate every scenario, but at least you've got this view for what should be going out on social media. I don't think you can do 100% of the time. I don't think you can do or make every touch point fit into the brand's larger story. But there are certain things that we've just talked about, Tyler and myself, that you can do in order to make sure it's going to be a part, at least look and feel like it's a part of the brand's larger story going forward. Sound good?
Love it.
All right, question number 3. How can I quantify the long-term value of a fan on emerging platforms?
Several ways, I think, depending on your budget. If you have a CRM tool that's able to provide a report like that. If not, you know, I'm a big fan of surveys, and I think if you can entice your raving fans to participate in a survey and really get specific and niche down to the questions to pull the data you want to know of how long has this client been with you, I think you can find a ton of great information of within the surveys. Long-term value, I'm drawing a blank now.
Well, I'm going to step in then. The way I look at it is, if we look at all of our customers, and we usually do this for our clients, and we look at what that average fan spends over 3 years, that is the beginning of how we quantify the long-term value of a fan on the emerging platforms. Now, these are customers, so how many fans equals a customer? You can do that mental arithmetic yourself, and then you come to kind of a long-term value of a fan. So if you discover that 100 fans equals 3 customers, it's probably between 1 and 5, I would imagine. You know, if these are true fans, these are what we call in the sales industry MQLs, marketing qualified leads, but MQFs, marketing qualified fans. These are fans that could potentially buy your product or service. And you look at the ratio between how many fans you have there and the number of customers, and then you look at the long-term value of a customer over 3 years. You can reverse engineer that and come up with a long-term value of a fan. That's the way we like to do it. Now, there's a variety of different ways, but I'm very curious as to how you do that with your clients. I mean, some of your clients aren't operating in a B2C model, right? Mm-hmm. Some of them are operating in different models.
You know, we're big on, if I'm hearing it right, it could be also the lifetime value of a customer and being able to quantify, you know, how much are you willing to spend to get that person into the funnel and seeing how they transition through the back end?
That's the way I'm interpreting it, but I'm looking at fan as fan's not a customer yet, but
right.
A potential customer. So should we invest in social media to attract fans, which eventually turn to customers, or should we just do a direct marketing route? I'm interpreting this question pretty literally.
I think, you know, it's kind of going for that traditional value add approach and deliver and add value and give away content and get them into the funnel, and then combine some strategies that your friend Jack speaks to of implementing a social selling strategy where now you can move these people further down the funnel. If they're becoming hand raisers online based on their activity in the comment section or things they're tweeting out, now you can implement a social selling team or your social selling manager to reach out to these people and push them further down the funnel. I hope that answered the question. I'm not sure.
I think it did, and I think between the two of us, we probably circled around the right answer. There is no right answer for this.
Yeah.
I mean, every company is going to be different, but it's something you should be evaluating whether to see it's worth it or not, because a lot of times it might not be worth it. So last question, is there an ideal mix of organic and promotional content? And then, this follow-up question to that is, how do I know when to utilize one over the other?
Right. There is a definite mix of the two between organic and promotional. I think, for me, I come from the professional skateboarding industry, so it's all organic content. It's almost, in my world, you would be considered whack if you did promotional content, like, oh, you're whack. You're
official skateboarding?
Yeah, that's definitely official. And, or dropping names or name dropping, whatever it might be, or trying to push your own agenda, that it comes off as smarmy and salesy, and that doesn't really resonate, especially with the younger audiences today, that it has to be coming from a true place of authenticity. I think with organic content, I've been a huge fan of Gary Vaynerchuk over the years, and his analogy of the jab, 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 right hook methodology has always been a good kind of guardrail, if you will, for me, of maintaining that consistency, or that maintaining the mix of promotional and organic. So the jab, jab, jab being organic and adding value, and there's real no ask. It's just, here, I want to educate you. I want to provide some entertainment. Here's a little something for you to keep you going throughout your day. And then the right hook being the sale promotional piece of, I've jabbed. I've added so much value over the time that I think we've earned enough trust. Now I'm going to knock you out with my sales offer. And I hope you can align and partner with us.
Is there a ratio though? Like, I go like 9 to 1, I go educational or entertaining to something that says, hey, this is what we do. Pay attention. Is that about?
I'd say, yeah. For me personally, you'll never see Tony Robbins selling through his social media networks from him personally. You would see social selling ads, which that's a whole different conversation. But I think a 9 to 1 is pretty safe. And if it's not, then you're really not going to build an audience, because no one wants to stick around and be pushed marketing messages all day long, whereas they're living on these social networks to have fun, to be entertained, and to learn something. They're not looking to have sales messages jammed down their throat all day long.
There's no question about that. Imagine if all brands were doing that all the time. Yeah. I mean, what a mess that would
be. A land of billboards falling on you with push notifications.
That's how you fold up a social network, is by allowing that to happen. Okay, well, Tyler, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for helping us answer these questions.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
And we've got to do this again sometime
soon,
since you're in the area.
Yeah.